Hello, friend. How are you? Good morning from Brooklyn. The sun is rising, and I want to get ready, put on some makeup while having a chat. We'll see how this get ready with me works out because I'm hoping that I can talk consistently alongside. You know what? I just realized I don't even have a mirror right here. That's fine. Just a little guy. I woke up really early today. It was spontaneous. I don't really know why because I didn't sleep that long and it might catch up to me later, but I see it as a blessing because I really do enjoy waking up to witness dawn and sitting outside for a little bit while it's still cool. I finished my book. It took me half a year, but I finished it. It's the only thing I've read so far this year. That definitely inspired me to sit down and just chat, but I have been wanting to also just spontaneously talk a little bit about what's been on my mind lately, which is me chasing success, but I want to stress it's the illusion of success, or what is that defined to each individual, so I'm what is the definition of success for me, and thinking about actually being more specific about it, because the more vague it is, the more it becomes or remains a mirage that will keep one on the hamster wheel. And a lot of times it's programming where you don't really know why you're doing something, but it's what we've known our whole lives, so you keep doing it. This is more like a chat rather than emphasizing beauty products, and I try to link everything as always. So I'm going to kind of candidly continue talking while I get ready. It's a little convo. So for those of you who also have a little morning routine, it'd be cool if we're putting on makeup together or you're having breakfast. It's a pleasure to keep you company today. What was I gonna say though? So I guess a really quick update from me. Right now I'm in my second bedroom, which is my office. I've turned from originally just editing, and then this was my guest room, but then I quit the rental little studio cubicle that I was using for a year. So now I have all my junk in here basically, and I haven't installed any shelving, and it's kind of garage vibes, but I definitely can benefit from saving that money monthly right now. I think I still have a good amount of going out, so I'm not too worried about feeling really isolated. This is kind of a recent update and development in my beauty routine, so I can't do it mindlessly yet because these are kind of new products I've tried out and I really like. So yeah, I didn't make a July notes at the end of the month, and I was wondering why. Ultimately, I decided to be kind to myself, give myself a break, and just let it go. I don't really know what my relationship with content creation is right now, and also, in general, but especially on YouTube, because I've been doing it for so long. I would say 10 years is how long I've just been making videos, and then 5 of those years, so half of that time, I was doing it consistently, almost like a full-time job. So it's been a while, and I think over time, as society and the internet changes, and also quarantine life, there is a lot more digital content, and it's becoming more fast-paced. Our attention span is shortening, and I'm just questioning how over the last few years I've definitely lost sight of what's in it for me, or why I make videos, other than the really obvious reasons. I do enjoy editing. I think I'm good at it. I do love looking back on my videos, especially the personal ones where I travel and spend holidays with my family. That's stuff I want to treasure forever, and that makes sense. But still, I'm just okay, sharing stuff online with people and wanting to kind of make it consistent. I'm what do I have to offer? And for a while it was really formulaic because I went to art school, and that's kind of when the channel took off, and that was just natural content. I was oh, here is what I do for assignments, people who are interested in applying to that school or wanting to pursue art in general would gain something just from watching that. And then after I graduated, and I'm like, okay, so I'm doing self-employment. I would like love to share that about my life, but ultimately my mental health is not so great. Like, let's not even start on, the physical health. That back then I was suffering from regular fevers and just like body ailments, and the more I learn about myself and have hindsight, the more I can identify that I was showing so many signs of toxic productivity and overexertion. And this book that I finished called Laziness, where the fuck did it go? Really concise ways of describing, and I was like, I related so hard to some of the passages. And there's this one area, so like I'm gonna kind of spoil like the end. And I'm pretty sure that in January notes, March notes, I have shown little snippets of this book, and I really do recommend it if you struggle with feeling really guilty because your worth is like tied to your productivity, and you have like no sense of self-worth when you don't do enough. And then it's kind of just like a catch-22, because you'll never be done doing things, and you'll never like do enough, so then therefore you'll never feel like you're enough. But then you feel like if you can do enough, then you'll finally be enough, and then it's just like, it's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle. There's this one part though that said, as a result of taking advice from this book, your room might get messier. You might be worse at responding to people. You might say no more, or like blah blah blah, and it's like kind of not what you'd expect, because a lot of times when we read like self-help things and just overall like self-improvement stuff, like there's a lot of advice when it comes to like how to optimize productivity. Like even like the author Devin Price, they were like, some people, when they first published this book in a form in an essay, a lot of people reached out to Price asking, well, how do I overcome all of these obstacles so that I can be more productive? And it's like, well, the point is kind of realizing that it's not about being productive, and it's like you're not evil for not doing more. And a lot of like society's programming is literally like affirming that the more you do, the more you deserve. And now I'm just kind of switching gears, but one reason why I didn't make a July notes is because I came back from 2 weeks in Europe. I think I was gone for exactly like 2 weeks, and I did not expect that when you go on vacation that you would come back feeling not ready to work, I guess, because at the end of the 2 weeks it was really eventful, and I did vlog, so I did like work to an extent, and I was just like, wow, I'm really looking forward to going home, because I look forward to the routine and getting to do some ceramics and painting, which I miss. And I didn't expect that when I came back, I kind of had like a really low few days, and I finally realized that it was because I just felt incredibly guilty for leaving for 2 weeks, and like I felt like that I need to work more to justify having taken time off, and that I just like don't deserve a break naturally. And that was a really valuable lesson, because I think like what time will I take, like when will I change that if not now, kind of thing, where it's like it's not gonna get better unless I really hone in on that. So I gave myself the time to process, and that's why like when I came back, I originally thought, okay, I'm gonna like upload this Wee Wednesday, which is the Ratatouille party video that I made in June. I'm like, I'm gonna publish that, and then I'm gonna film another one, and then I'm gonna be back with like maybe 2 videos a week, and I'm like bam bam bam, like I'm gonna do all of this. And then really need to, I think the key is to really inspect one's intentions behind something, and my intention behind that was like out of fear and guilt of not doing enough, of like feeling inadequate. And I'm just like, okay, well, not only will I feel completely dreadful doing these videos like out of lack, it's probably not going to be a fun time for me, and the result is probably not going to be as, I don't know, like the video will not be as good as, maybe good, it's the wrong word. it won't be as pure, like pure me. It would be like from kind of the darker sides of me. And there are some things that I never opened up about or thought it was necessary to share because I felt like it was ungrateful of me to think such ways, but I don't really want to invalidate my own thoughts and feelings anymore. And it's like really examining the toll that my lifestyle thus far has taken, like especially like self-employment and being like self-employed during school, like taking all of the free time I had during RISD, for example, and turning that into profit, like monetizing my videos. So then I'm like, okay, well, this makes me feel like I have a purpose, and it really allowed me to ignore certain things in my life that like it was difficult for me to address because I just didn't know. I didn't have the tools. I was unaware. But for example, like I think I was really closed off growing up, period. I was really afraid of making friends. I was really scared of being hurt and betrayed, and definitely like having something to do alone in my dorm, because like really my first couple dorm videos really took off, and I was like, oh great, now I have something really to look forward to every day after school, even on the weekends. Like I don't need to really seek out anybody because this is enough for me to feel like I have a purpose. And there's nothing wrong with not making friends if you don't want to, but again, like inspecting my intentions, I think I really feared rejection, so it was easier for me to be like, well, this is like a really legit thing I can pursue, so therefore I'm like totally okay with the idea of like isolating myself. The toll that it has taken though over time includes really exacerbating my perfectionism, because when you have a big audience and they have their expressed individual opinions, sometimes it can be clumped into like one person instead of thousands or like hundreds of comments, and I don't know anybody or like the context that they're coming from. But then if they have something negative to say, or even like not negative but just criticism, then you can kind of clump it together and associate it with trauma. Like if you had an authority figure reprimand you when you were growing up, or like someone who made you feel really lesser, like suddenly they'll take on that face. It's kind of like Harry Potter vibes, where it's like that mysterious object that comes from the wardrobe that will morph into like your fears and stuff. So yeah, you would associate criticism with like the hurtful moments in your life when you have felt like you failed at something or you're not enough. And yeah, so without really realizing it, I started making changes to myself in order to strive for my idea of perfectionism, or I feel like perfectionism could also be conflated with being good enough / acceptable / deserving of love in my case. I remember like uploading my dorm videos, and I'm like a hoardy person. Like I like to keep things, and people said stuff like, God, looking at your room just stresses me out, or like, girl, I want to clean that for you, or like just other things that people just say because I think it gives people power to like talk down to others. And like, even though I might know that and justify that, it still like really hit me and got to me, and that kind of made me really conscious, for example, of like what's in my background all the time. And there was like one comment of like thousands of comments in the last years that was like, God, why do you need to say anyways? Seriously, like it's anyway. And you might notice sometime in the last few years I say anyway. I felt really bad, and I changed it because I was ashamed, I guess, rather than feeling like, oh, okay, like thank you for enlightening me with this. And obviously it was like the delivery that made it also like harmful. And anyway, I cannot talk when I do this. as someone who's always been insecure my whole life, and then receiving so much, I was gonna say hella, grew up in the Bay, hella validated from my YouTube fame, I would do anything, subconsciously to keep that sense of validation coming. It's like you're addicted to that dopamine, because it's like if you felt such a deficit in it. Definitely one of the consequences of me pulling back and being less a projection of what I feel like would be more likable or viral. I ended up getting less engagement on my videos. Like the content I made was like, I think, slower pace and just maybe less appealing, and that really hurt my ego and made me feel afraid for like my survival for a while. I was like, okay, like there's less engagement, I have less overall comments and views on my videos, period, compared to when I first became very viral. And I was like, maybe it's because something's wrong with you, and you start to doubt and tie all of these reasons, like you want to justify it, and then you're like inspecting, okay, how am I different? Like, how did I get worse? Recently, like a lot of things that have helped is my support system, talking to my therapist, who is a woman of color. Systemically, women have been programmed to feel like we need to be overproductive, we need to overcompensate in order to like deserve a rest. In home life, in the workplace, like women feel like they pick up invisible work because they assume that responsibility and that overwork. So I'm just like, damn, like no wonder. And just like, it is normal to have these thoughts of self-doubt. You shouldn't feel the need to extinguish them to be able to live happily, which definitely has helped me. Like it made me shift my expectations of what being at peace is. It's not literally like feeling peace from the moment you open your eyes to the moment you go to bed. Maybe you have great nice days like that, but it's not some sign that something is like there's imminent doom if you do feel stressed out about certain things. Like you're a living, breathing being, and you react to the world around you, and the world around you is arbitrary and very chaotic. So yeah, I can't blame my human nature. I think I was like ashamed at my human nature for the longest time, like for having flaws or like things I don't like about myself. Sometimes I get really caught up in comparing myself to other people, like anybody. And I had this epiphany yesterday when I was reading Laziness Does Not Exist, because they had an excerpt about upward comparisons and when comparisons are very motivating and inspiring and when it can be destructive. I tried to paraphrase, it failed, I cut that out. Now I'm going to be concise for you. Page 194. I feel like I've spoke about comparison a lot in the past. I made like a video about self-love last year, and I am very aware of when I compare myself to others. I catch myself and try to avoid comparing, but it doesn't mean that I don't naturally do that and judge myself. Upward comparison is, in essence, a way of using other people's accomplishments to determine what our own goals should be. That is really life-changing for me to realize, because I've blamed myself for the longest time for comparing myself to others, because it also made me feel ungrateful for things in my life, like my blessings and my own accomplishments. But it is not your fault, because I do feel like growing up, again, the world that I was brought up in has so many times made you compare yourself to others. So I was like, now I can't just hate and disown that part of myself when like I've been taught to do that. So I need to give myself time to unlearn it. But yeah, so personally sharing my experiences, it is so true that whenever I look at someone who's accomplishing something and they got a great deal of attention for it, I'll suddenly question, should I do that? Like, wow, why didn't I do that? Or like, why didn't I think of that? And now I can see that it's because an ultimate goal of mine is to feel like I did something that was worthy of praise and attention. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, how can I fulfill that need as a starting point? Because I do believe, even though maybe I don't act on it yet, but I do believe that you have everything you'll ever need right within you. Like everything you need is within you, and you don't need external validation. And if I can act according to those tenets, then maybe I wouldn't be so quick to form goals when I see other people accomplishing something, when like those goals weren't something that I've ever set out to do. You know, it's like you have like a new goal every 2 days because you don't really know what you want. You just want that sense of accomplishment, and then when you see other people have it, then you like suddenly take their goals as your own, and then maybe you like lose fuel when you go for those goals because it's not truly what you want, and then you feel like a failure because you're like, why can't I see this through? I start these things and I don't see it through. It's not your fault for not being genuinely interested in something. That's like something that I've told myself recently when I like notice that I'm not motivated for something in a, maybe like sometimes I'm not motivated and other times like I love it again. I'm ebbing and flowing, you know, I change a lot, but sometimes like I genuinely am not interested in something and I don't want to push myself to be interested just because I feel like I should be. So that's all like going back to the word should constantly. Damn, I'm like getting really riled up. My armpits are so sweaty talking to you, but it's okay. I'm having a good time. I hope that you are too. One really valuable piece of advice that I got when I was going on to my friend about how I feel like I'm failing and I'm not good at something, or like I really fear that I'm gonna go downhill because I don't feel the motivation to paint or do ceramics, and I'm like, what if I just wither away and get worse and worse at it? Or like, why am I not the person that I want to be? Something like that. I can't even remember exactly what I was saying. I feel like that was like a really bad impression of what I said. It's probably not true, but to be honest, I can't even remember. But their response to me was like, there are so many accomplishments that others can't see and maybe you can't see, but you're working on so many different things in your life, and I think it's really important to celebrate those as victories. And I'm getting really confused with the pronouns because I'm like quoting my friend and then me, so for the sake of confusion I'm just gonna like remove my friend from the conversation. So when I was going on about being really insecure about feeling like I'm not good at my work and I'm not productive enough and stuff, I learned from their response that I am working on so many different aspects of my life and I shouldn't limit my achievements, or just like I shouldn't limit myself to work and that kind of external validation. I feel like it's really cliche to talk about because I'm like, yeah, it's very obvious, maybe at least to me, that like a lot of Americans or like capitalist societies like have toxic relationships with work and productivity, okay? And anyhow, I really appreciated talking with my friend because it reminded me, one, of this conversation that I had with my therapist a while ago, where we talked about like, what is success? What is one's definition of success? And one thing that I really value is having learned to see success in my life in so many ways, and it's not just defined by numbers like your bank statement or your following count or the number of likes. It's improving relationships with my family members, truly being honest and connected to my stepdad before he passed away, doing my best to have the bandwidth to handle these difficult things in my life. That is something that sometimes I'll look back and be like, oh, I wish that I had another chance at YouTube because maybe I could have done better, or like I would have been more successful if at that time I didn't do XYZ. And I don't even think that would be possible. It would be like catch-22, because when I was number-wise doing really well, consistent, it was toxic productivity at least at one point. You know, not only was it a coping mechanism, but I was getting sick probably every week and a half. It's no secret. Like, if you look at my vlogs, I'm ill a lot. My immune system was just terrible, and I didn't have the best relationship with close people in my family because your mind likes to see what it wants to see. Selective memory, you know? It takes a lot of effort to fill in the blanks and remember, like, okay, what didn't you have? Or like, what did you wish that you had that you have now that you can be grateful for? And it made me realize for sure that I didn't have the best internal world, let alone like a good relationship with myself. And in turn, those really close to me, I don't think I had a good relationship with them. Overall, like, I was definitely really close to my mom and sister, but there were signs, even like when I dated my ex for years, there were signs of like when I wouldn't be my best self, and I didn't really know how to change, and I didn't actually think I could change. But now with more time and a lot of work, I realized that there are a lot of reasons for why I was short-fused, or can he be louder right now? It was hard, but I never share that part of myself on YouTube, and I think maybe as a result, my vlogs made me seem like too saintly. And I remember people will call me angels, or like, you're blah, blah, blah. And I felt like a fraud. And I also, at the same time, felt relieved that people saw me as angelic, because growing up, I was always like this ball of trouble. A lot of people don't know this about me. And on the other hand, was this pressure to like seem as nice as I can be. And really, like, everyone has ugly sides, but my ugly side was kind of being taken out on my family members, like my mom, my sister, my boyfriend at the time. And I can own up to it now, and I can admit. And like, especially, okay, with my relationship, I'm not comfortable with sharing like Tyler's side of the story, as in like things that he did wrong in a relationship, because like he has no control over, he's not here to like explain either. So I found that unfair, but I do wish to talk about the points where I feel like I learned from my mistakes, and many of that was like, I felt like now I can see why I reacted the way I did, or like would feel really rash and lose my temper around Tyler. This is called learning from your life experiences. Now I can sense when I have resentment towards a friend or a family member, and I will, like, to the best of my abilities, voice it out to them, coming from like kindness and love, rather than coming from like, I want to hurt you because you hurt me. The long-winded way of me explaining how I feel like I really grew in that aspect of my life. And at times, when all I care about is how well I painted today, or like how many videos I posted this month, or how many likes I got, or views on my story, it's really important to ground myself to see, whoa, like, what are the successes in my life? What have I been putting work into that maybe I don't get any medals for? It's really weird, because I feel like my whole life I felt really lonely and really empty, and now I'm just like, okay, I'm here for you. I am here. I wish my lips weren't so goddamn pale. It's a nude look. This video is not scripted, as you can tell, so I'm all over the place. I hope that you're here for it, though. Kind of stream of consciousness, so everything's just coming out of order. I don't even think I mentioned what I wrote in my notes, though, so let me read it really fast. YouTube complicated my relationship with perfectionism. Like, if someone told me, like, I can't stand the way you leave your cabinet doors open, I would feel the need to, like, close them before I have it in my background, or I always, like, be, like, hyper. I would be like hawk's eye to see all the flaws, because I was like, my goal in life was to make sure I'm not criticizable. I keep striving to edit for that slightly more likable version of myself, more perfect, less criticizable, less judgeable, looking for that mirage, yearning for that mirage for years. And then I wrote toxicity. I was like getting poetic or something. Lastly, I wrote this quote that I got from the book by Devin Price. It says, our insecurities keep us productive and profitable. And I think that's a really interesting observation. You know, it's like, why are we programmed to feel like we're not enough? Because honestly, a lot of the messages that we receive from media is hypocritical. You know, we're taught like, you should love yourself, you should love your body, you need to be kind to yourself, but then they will sell you products and services that are like, you're not good enough. You need to be better. Don't you want to be better? Like, don't you love yourself so you want to be better? Spend your money on this, spend your money on that. So yeah, maybe I can't change the system, but at least I can recognize it and hopefully be kinder on myself to not feel so guilty about like not loving yourself. These days, I'm proud of myself for taking the time and the space to really think about what I want and question why I want certain things, because kind of going back to what I said before about creating goals around comparing myself to others and feeling like, oh, I admire this person, or I feel like this person is doing a lot better than me, so I should probably like orient my goals just like them, and if I could be a little more like them, then I'll probably be better. I think that just results in feeling like I'm not living in alignment, and I'm like, if I have the goals to have a slow paced lifestyle, and then I really look at my other goals, I'm like, oh, I want to be like really productive and like really successful and put out like so much content like this person does, and I'm like, wait, then how is that in any way at all similar to my original goal of like having a slower lifestyle and stuff like that? And just as how productivity shouldn't be king, slow living shouldn't be like everybody's end goal either. I'm talking from a very individual point of view, and I feel like that's what I want. Only you know yourself truly on the inside, and only you have to live with the consequences of your actions, like what you choose. I want to leave you with a prompt that maybe we can have a discussion in the comments. What do you define as success for yourself? And if you're comfortable with sharing, like, how did you get to this point through this talk today? Maybe I could have comforted or inspired some of you, or maybe just like made you feel less alone in having experiences like mine. As you can see, this video, I sat here, I kind of did it impromptu, and I feel good about it. But look at this background. This is just the truth of like how my office has been living. I didn't really doctor it to feel and I'm not nervous about like, oh god, like it's so ugly in the back. It's not pretty, of course, but I decided I will be the prettiest thing in this video, and that's fine. I do obviously hope that my office will look really nice, and I'm going to install some shelving, and it's gonna be a lot more efficient, but no pressure to like make everything picture perfect right away, to have that highlight be the constant. Do you like my makeup routine? What do you think about it? I feel like I've been changing my style more and more, and a big reason is my haircut. Like everything I do, I like to be cohesive. So when I had the colorful hair, I would wear more colorful clothing, and now I feel more inclined to wear black because I feel like it kind of has a look, when you have black hair and black clothes, and it hits different. So I think a large reason for why I like my makeup also is emphasizing different features is because of my haircut, and I'm gonna keep growing my hair out for a while. I know I'm gonna dye it again someday, but I can definitely use the break because my hair is so healthy right now. I thank you so much for spending time with me, for hearing me out. I do hope that this can help someone, or if anything, just be a really nice background noise for you. Have a great rest of your weekend and a good week ahead. I love you. Goodbye.